Yeah, we could have.
What I'll do is, as our panelists and speakers are sitting down, I'm going to let all the panelists introduce themselves one by one, say who they are, what company they're with, and I'm going to ask them the question, which is, how is your company helping its customers reduce the unscheduled downtime? So maybe I'll start with Jason if he's ready.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Jason Anderson. I'm Vice President of Business Lines at Stratus.
Which way are we going?
We'll start with Jason, and then why don't you just ask the question, just how does Stratus help its customers introduce,
Oh, geez, yeah, sure.
eliminate unscheduled downtime?
As our new sales rep, Jessica, did such a nice job articulating our FT server story. We build mission-critical digital infrastructure, namely servers. So, and we have multiple server lines, and our goal really is to have architectures that eliminate production downtime from a compute perspective. But our simultaneous goal is to actually simplify and make that totally invisible to the end user, which is why we fit in really nicely with systems deployed outside of your typical data center.
Okay, Alex?
What's the question you want me to ask? The answer.
How does your company, this is Schneider Electric, help its customers to reduce unscheduled downtime?
Unscheduled downtime? Well, a variety of things. Starting at the very bottom, we will make I/O cards that are redundant. Communication buses are redundant. The controllers are redundant. The network they talk to is redundant. We'll build redundant servers. So at the hardware level, redundancy throughout. At the software level, we do a variety of things that allow us to shift load in the event of unexpected failures of our equipment from one place to another.
Okay. And Kevin?
Yeah, hi. So I'm Kevin McCluskey, Inductive Automation, co-director of sales engineering. I work with the bacon guys. What we do is we create a platform. So we don't do any hardware, we just do software. But we create a platform that allows for the type of tracking of downtime, information analysis, and visualization that you saw in their project.
Okay. You go, Robert.
So my name is Robert Sammons. I am a general manager and vice president for Global Automation, and we provide systems integration and really act as our clients' conscience around delivering optimal managed facility performance, which really addresses all these areas of reducing downtime through things like virtualization, fortification of your control networks, standardization of your programming languages at the controller level, and then delivering that to a higher point with regard to process safety, operational excellence through delivering integrated information at the engineering and design content level, as Jessica spoke about, and providing everyone with a holistic understanding of the facility rather than a product understanding in general, just working client specific. Delivering against process technology needs is something that we bring a lot of value to the table with.
Okay, Jim.
Good morning. My name is Jim Winter. I'm with Rockwell Automation. I'm the director of process, global process. We look at this kind of holistically as well. We help our customers through the journey of upgrading their automation systems. It starts with assessing what they have. Many legacy systems. We saw the statistics that ARC produced, $65 billion worth of installed base. It's amazing how many customers just simply don't know what they have in their plants. And if you can't really build a strategy and move forward without understanding where you are, okay? So we'll help customers define the strategy, prepare justifications for how they're going to move forward, how to minimize risk in their plants, how to minimize the risk of their migration, and then what they can do with the new technologies that they've now unlocked from their systems, and how to leverage those going forward. We find that our customers are leveraging Rockwell products, leveraging our ingenuity and our capabilities to move them forward to where the actual upgrade, which is usually the big stumbling block, the actual upgrade is generally a non-event, because if you put in the planning, you saw Nancy's presentation, they did it over a weekend and they had no downtime, they finished on time, they everything went back to what we would say normal in a relative quick time without any disruptions. And that comes from knowing the system you're leaving and then knowing the system you're going to. And that's very important. So we can help with that. Can also help leverage the technology on the new system. So we can use analytics and we can use information to create value and to reduce downtime through, now that you're on a modern system, you've eliminated the obsolescence issues, but we're also able to leverage the information on the operations side and the maintenance side to improve productivity in the plant.
Okay, great. If anybody has any questions for the panel, Alan has the mic, and just so please raise your hand and he'll come on over to you. You have a question?
Sure. That was a question really for Jessica. You talked about adding the QR codes to your equipment.
Yes.
How did you justify that? What kind of effort was that? And was that justified on improved operating KPIs or reduced downtime?
So it is, I'll just clarify one point. That's a thing that we're moving towards. It is not in place yet, but I guess I could say products and things. But it's actually using Thin Manager's relevance technology. It was through ACP, but now Rockwell has acquired the company. But basically, the goal of that is to, for instance, if a motor goes down, we want our maintenance and engineering technicians, all that, to be able to access the, and it goes down and you're not able to run product. We want them to have to not go back to a server or back to a laptop back in the office or back to go find drawings, if there are drawings, who knows, or a model number off of a nameplate that has faded through time with all the buildup of whatever on the equipment. Really, it's just to kind of simplify and shorten any kind of downtime, so that way all they have to do is just walk up to the piece of equipment and everything is right there at their fingertips. So.
So it sounds like downtime reduction is how
Yes.
justified.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions from the audience? If not, we have an array of questions up here as well while you're thinking. One of the questions that we typically get, it's always the Monday morning quarterback question for all the speakers. Now that you've gone through the process, are there the lessons learned, things that you might do different, and if you had any recommendations to say if any of your colleagues were undergoing a similar project, what would you kind of just caution them to do? You covered some of it in some of your presentations, but if there's anything you'd like to highlight, and we'll go through all the speakers. I'll start with Nancy, please.
Goodness. Let's see. So one of the things that we found within DuPont that's very critical to the success of many of our batch automation projects is to have a subject matter expert involved from a very early stage in the project. That was my role. I actually didn't get involved quite early enough. The systems integrator made a few decisions looking at the system in one way, but without having that batch automation experience to understand that they needed to purchase, a controller with more memory, say, because you were going to have those batch, phases running in the controller, and they needed to account for that. They were used to doing things in a certain way. And so having, so that's just one example of having a batch automation expert, involved at a very early stage. Also, we're very committed to implementing batch processes through use of the ISA S88 standards. And so, for modularizing our processes and gaining the benefits of that type of modularization. And so, my involvement was really some of the people at the plant's first experience, with the concepts of S88. So in addition to training them in S88, then I was able to lead them through the implementations of the methodologies that then, and actually now, are enabling them to expand their systems, with a much lower effort than what they would have seen in the past, using just sequences in the controller or, traditional methods. And so that would be,
Okay, great.
My
We'll
comments.
go down the I'll start with Jessica next.
Okay. Well, there's a few pieces of advice I would probably give somebody who is looking to implement a solution. The first would be to get the key stakeholders of your organization involved at its inception. If they're not going to buy into it, you could throw all this technology over the fence, but if they are not taking ownership of it, then it's not going to get as good of results as you would hope. Another thing that I would say, I had them in my mind and I just forgot, would be to plan for something that you're not going to have to rip out and replace in another 5 years. The thing with us going with Stratus and choosing the size of Stratus that we had went with is because we wanted throughout the system's life cycle to be able to support the organization as it grows and also to support the organization as it currently stands. So even if you spend a little bit more money on the forefront, it probably pays for itself at the end and having to go back and add to it later. And then finally, I would say to go to a place that is doing a similar project and work with your distributors and see if you could see these things happening in the real world. Because if you look at a brochure or you look at a YouTube video or a WebEx or whatever, it's not going to give you a good feel for how the systems function in the real world. Because as we know with plants, it's not all, it's not what you would say a textbook application is. So that would be 3 pieces of advice.
Okay, great. Trevor?
I think one of the ones I would say is that I think early on when we were justifying this project, there was a lot of hesitation or fear from those making those that are signing the check to approve the project. And I think I was a proponent of the virtualization, but there was some pushback on, right there, okay. So there's some pushback and fear over the risks of virtualization. And I think one of the things I could have done better would be to properly quantify or qualify what I thought the benefits versus the risks were, because I didn't mention in the presentation, but originally we actually went with physical engineering servers instead of virtual servers. And then in the end, due to various reasons, there were some issues with those servers, so we ended up with a full virtualization solution, which is what I had wanted in the first place, but I don't think I was very clear on how big the benefits I viewed of virtualization were compared to what management maybe thought there's risks to this new technology. So I think the good thing is to be clear on the benefits that you see you're going to get out of this technology and be able to counter some of those arguments that of the risk or perceived risk that there was with it.
Okay.
I gotta get you. Yeah, so if you're on the tech side, suppress the urge to throttle the ops guy on a regular basis and listen to what he has to say. If you're on the ops side, assume that the tech guys can do anything and ask all the questions. This whole project came out of him going, can it do this and can it do this, and just a whole sequence of that. And make sure your ops and tech guys can work well together, because anybody else, and this probably wouldn't have worked as well.
Agreed.
You got anything?
I would just, I'll add, I think Jessica and Nancy stole my answer, but it's important to get as many people in operations involved in the process. They're the subject matter experts. You really need to pick their brains and dig into the lines and find out everything you can possibly find out about the process and have them help build it. Then I think that builds ownership as well.
Okay. And now I'll ask our panelists kind of a similar question, that as you've helped your customers, as you've helped them with their solutions and unscheduled downtime, what are some of the things you learned from the process, and what are some things that you'd like to maybe add to your portfolio in the future to maybe help you deliver even more effective solutions? So I'll start with Jason.
Oh, okay. So, well, we actually just announced a new product line this week that takes some of that on. So I'd say that we really started thinking, when we started to design our new lines, it was always around the end user, the ops person. So, from an infrastructure company, that's probably a little bit different. So I'd say that really we really have to take in account all the people who may interface with the system in the design process. So we talk to our customers about that a lot. Who's going to do what in the process? I think our partners do an excellent job of that and relaying it back to us to design the products. So, so that I think is really important. The process design ultimately drives the solution. The other thing I think, which we heard throughout all the discussions today, which I thought was excellent, was everybody understood the KPIs they were trying to achieve and the business metrics they were trying to achieve. I'd say from a customer standpoint, I could come up here and spew all kinds of awesome features, and probably most of my other panelists here could give them to you, but if you're not coming to your systems integrator or to your vendor with kind of the business results you want to achieve, you'll probably get a suboptimal design. So I'd say that would be what I would stress for you all to help us do a better job for you.
Okay,
Yeah,
Alex.
I have to agree with that. If a client that can bring a problem that they have and a statement of what the value of solving that problem is, that's a client I can help. You know, if they don't do that, then I have a really hard time knowing the right thing to do. But in answer to your question, a couple of things have come to mind of recent years. We have to find a better way to deploy software updates, from firmware down in the controllers to software patches on the OS to antivirus, you name it, whatever it is, there's got to be a better way than what we do. Far too many of those require disruption or too many man hours, and then people make mistakes on top of it. It's not uncommon for somebody to grab a piece of software they thought's the right thing and install it, and it's the wrong thing. So we got to find a better way to manage the software. The other place that we see a lot of interest in our clients is predictive maintenance. I don't think it's news to anybody, but what we're doing is we've got software to help with the typical field devices you find in the process industry. We've got a maintenance advisor that we're building out so it can sit on top of pretty much anything that can report its health, or that can use condition monitoring to determine what that health might be, whether it's runtime on a motor, current draw changes, whatever, and make that information come back to the right people in the plant so they can get involved at the appropriate time. Try to avoid break fix, because that definitely is downtime. Try to refrain from repairing equipment before it needs it because you're shutting down in order to repair it. That's downtime. Let's try and predict when it's going to happen, and then see if we can't schedule all the necessary maintenance at the time when you have a chance to do it. So that's where we're spending a lot of time and effort.
Okay, Kevin?
Sure. So one thing that we found interesting at Inductive Automation, so we sell a platform, and we sell MES modules, and we found it really interesting that even customers who don't necessarily know what they want or what benefit they're going to get from the system, they normally put in the system and they find things that were valuable to know that they didn't have in place, and they had no idea was actually a problem in their process before they put it in. But that said, I would echo again what these two gentlemen have just said, that having at least an idea of where the pieces in the process are that need help, having an idea when coming to a software vendor or to any vendor of what's going to be the most useful for your organization makes a huge difference. To answer the second part of your question, so our MES modules have recently been updated. So we've taken a lot of customer feedback into account, and those changes have just gone into a release that's gone out recently that allows for multiple different sections, different line configurations, different feeds coming in from different areas to automatically work together. So you don't have to pull in different subsections of areas, feed that into a separate line, have this line connected. It's one full entire solution there. So that's what we've been doing.
Okay, Robert?
So uniquely, I think looking at your problem and addressing your concerns from the feed stage and really looking at it objectively across all the OEM platforms is a key in making sure you choose the technology that aligns with your needs when dealing with legacy migrations and modernization projects. I think as it relates, that aggregate value you get from that component will provide you exponential returns, because that gap assessment of how you're going to identify the workshops that come out of that will identify where your real KPI drivers are, and some of the soft, what we'd call intangible benefits that come from this as it relates to leveraging your archive historical data across all your systems and providing your process engineers, your plant managers, your maintenance supervisors with better access to that information and better access to the design basis data, as Jessica pointed out, will provide you all with the ability to create very compelling business cases with increases of up to 30–40% on personnel efficiency, which is one of those intangibles that accounting doesn't necessarily like to use as a KPI. But I think the reality is the introduction of IoT technologies and the selection of the right platform that's going to support your new modernization initiative for the $55 billion worth of legacy platforms that are out there today is so key. And make sure you pick the right partner, because you really need to understand holistically, if you're a batch process, who's the best in batch. If you're an ethylene plant, if you're a rubber plant, if you're a food and drug manufacturer, wherever your business is and whatever vertical it's in, every one of the OEMs have very strong business cases around what they offer. But understanding your process is why you need to pick the right partner, because your process technology migration, the scripts that run in the background, the little things that you don't think about on those legacy systems are the ones that'll create unplanned outage time during your migration that really can be costly. So I would just say, make sure you pick the right partner and have a great relationship. I think these folks down here had already identified that they've worked very closely together on the bacon side of things, and it's really key because they have a good relationship, and that relationship is key with a lot of legacy knowledge and understanding how to create business value.
Okay, and Jim?
It's kind of tough to go last because a lot of people already addressed some really good points. But I think the key thing is to pick a partner that can act as a consultant. The best partner will help you make the right decisions along the way. This is a kind of a journey. I believe some of the points made about involving the right people in the organization on the end user side, the people who are going to live with the system that you create for them, is key. And having a partner that understands that is really important. We talked about getting the right stakeholders in the organization, having a partner that can coach you through that and has done these kind of migrations, incredibly important. I think one of the key things too is the justification. Having a partner that can understand your industry, your process, and to help you justify not just, hey, we have to replace the system because it's old. As you saw, that was a problem, but that was not really where the benefit was. The benefit was in unlocking the technologies that are present in the current technology, and having a partner that can help define the benefits to upgrading, but also the benefits going forward, how to leverage data, how to visualize data, how to make changes and become more proactive, prescriptive on the maintenance side. You know, we've heard all of these things discussed. I think having that coach and partner and ending up with the right system to solve your problems is truly key.
Okay, great answers. Please join me in thanking the speakers and the panel for doing such a great job today.